Andres Lorente. Welcome to the Popcorn Counter here at the Two Real Cinema Club.
Well, James Ruzicka, I don't see any movies in this theater.
I don't see any movies either. So I am prepared to confess, yes, it is New Year's Eve.
Oh, that's true. Oh, it's like a dark night.
People who have, friends or families might be out doing something.
Oh.
It's only you and me at the theatre here. But I hope this is not a premonition of the year to come.
Could it be?
Well, an interesting thing happened to me this week. So I was at work. People sometimes talk about movies at work, and people sometimes ask me, what are you doing your podcast on this week? Or they'll say, oh, what have you seen lately? Or they'll say, I went to see this. I thought it was good or it was bad.
Yeah.
Interestingly, this week, people at work asked me, what's happening about Netflix and Warner Brothers?
Ooh, yes.
I was quite impressed. I thought, oh my goodness, I thought it's only people who read the trade papers, but no, actual real people in the real world were asking me about it.
Yeah.
So this has been a reasonably big story in the UK. I presume it's a big story in the US, yes?
Yeah, it's a pretty big story. Had some coverage both in the New York Times, which is probably our main source for this podcast. But also, I've just been hearing it in the news, so you don't even need to go to the trades. It's just big companies looking to eat each other up, huh?
So my understanding is Warner Brothers has finally run out of steam, as looking to be sold to another entity. So Warner Brothers was previously taken over, like in 2022, by Discovery.
Yeah.
Which just learning that left me gobsmacked, actually, because I'm aware of Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
This is like home of Casablanca, the home of Goodfellas.
Yeah. So many films over the years.
Yeah, the home of Batman or Harry Potter or kind of all that stuff. And for them to be bought by the people who make documentaries on the Discovery Channel, I find slightly amazing at all. So Discovery took over Warner Brothers in 2022.
Yeah, like bird documentaries, small mammals at night, whatever. Who cares? What?
Apparently enough people care that they had the money to buy Batman. But yet kind of for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out financially, and they're looking to either divest or be sold altogether. And so they will be sold either to Netflix, and I don't understand. I think Netflix don't want the entire business; they just want some of it. I don't know whether they want the library and the studio.
Yeah, I think that's what they want.
But also, it may be bought by is it Skydance, who've previously bought Paramount.
Yeah.
Which I also find very mystifying as well, because Paramount I'm used to seeing before every Mission Impossible movie or whatever, or so many movies. I enjoy watching those stars ride over the mountain. I don't know what the mountain is. Do you know what the mountain is in the Paramount logo?
I don't.
Presumably Mount Para, I guess. I don't know, but but now they've been bought. So they're owned by Skydance.
Skydance, what a stupid name. Skydance.
Skydance, which is led by David Ellison, son of Larry Ellison.
Oh, I'm gagging over here, man. I'm gagging. I can see him at the popcorn counter.
So Skydance want it. They've offered even more money for Warner Brothers in a hostile takeover bid.
Yeah.
So they've offered $108 billion, most of the money being put up by the Saudi Arabians.
Oof. And organized a little bit by Jared Kushner, who happens to be the stepson.
Oh, it just gets better and better, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing good about this story. And I love the moment in the podcast where one of the guests on the show said, whoever wins, we lose. And that really kind of sums it up. This is just bad. And I think one of the pieces that people are probably paying a little less attention to is CNN, which is cable news network, which some might argue that it's bent a little left in its reporting of the news. It feels fairly mainstream, in fact, facty.
Okay.
Fictionally.
Though my understanding is any news outlet which is not Fox News
precisely,
is far left communist.
And so the things you need to know is that Netflix doesn't really want CNN. They would probably sell that off to someone else. I think the Paramount Skydance group, who already bought CBS, which is immediately taking a right-wing turn, they do want CNN. And I think that's a pretty big difference here. And then, one is sort of an agreed deal, and the other one is a hostile takeover. And certain people who may or may not be the president of the United States certainly want to put their thumbs on the scale for their friends and their stepsons. So it's bad. It's just bad everywhere. And those are just like the business machinations. That's not the actual artistic things that are online here.
So I mean, I was going to say the main thing which affects us as cinema enthusiasts is yet another nail in the coffin of cinema. Although from the way you describe it, I feel like that is not the only thing that we should be worried about, and maybe the generalized choking of centrist media, or the nipping out of any kind of more liberal media voices is probably a more pressing problem. If I were to be less selfish, the angle I take is, I hope this doesn't mean that the cinemas are accelerated towards an untimely end. Yeah, but there are bigger problems at stake.
I think so, yes. I mean, I feel the same way. My gut reaction is life without cinemas, and then I think I'm old. Most people are watching everything on phones, which is just absolutely idiotic, and computers and televisions and home theaters, and they can't get their asses out of their houses to go watch a film in a theater with a big screen and big sound and make it a communal experience. So something inside of me says humans are kind of dumb. We make the same mistakes and then we unmake them later on. So I feel like, theaters might go down for a little while, but they're going to rise from the ashes and be something cool a generation later. Like, people are playing vinyl. I'm playing vinyl. It's idiotic. It's idiotic. They take up space. They get scratched. They're inefficient. And this podcast is all about efficiency, the one we listen to. I wouldn't say the Two Reel Cinema Club is that efficient. But the podcast that we're referencing was from the New York Times. The Daily is a morning program where they talk about one issue in depth. And they're saying that cinema, as we experience it now, not only is it unpopular due to the post-COVID living and the fact that you can see any crap you want at your home or on your phone, just as easily as going out and paying $10 to go see it in a movie theater, that's an inefficient way to consume films, I guess, and theater. I think it would rise like the phoenix and come back in some form. We talked about it a little bit, I think, on the last podcast. Like, we could see films just that are much previously released, like out of catalogs. You could just play anything. Like, I could go see It's a Wonderful Life at my cinema on December 24th. It's going to play for free this year. And I would think you might be able to start seeing old films reemerge. But the thing that scares me is that the difficulty there is that you've got 2 or 3 companies that own all the titles that were ever released. And this is really this is such an American thing. This is really about monopoly. This is about a small segment of the population owning more and more and actually telling us what the real news is in their minds, what news needs to be reported, or inventing fake news in order to put that on the air. But it's also about controlling our culture, our cinematic heritage, and telling us what we can see and where we can see it. And that's the grim piece for me. And I think that Netflix, to a certain extent, one of the points that really struck me is that Netflix doesn't care about cinema and films and going out to a theater and seeing them. They want you to be on your telephone. There was a nice quote in the podcast. They are competing with sleep. Which is, they want you watching their crap day and night. They do not want you going to a theater. There are some filmmakers who get very limited screenings so that they're eligible for Oscar awards and things like that. So they'll let something play in the theater for a little while, but they want you to be sitting at home. And for me, it feels like matricide. It's like Netflix is killing its mother. The theater, the cinema is what made films, and it's an experience that you are basically murdering in order to have everyone stay at home and watch stuff on their phones and computers. So that was unsettling to me.
Yeah, I did read a quote from Ted Sarandos, as head of Netflix, saying something along the lines of, cinema isn't the way that people want to see movies. My son watches movies on his phone, and that's just as valid. Yeah. And you kind of feel like it does feel a little bit like people who are making the important decisions are the people who are least equipped to be making them.
Yeah.
I do know that Netflix has been, I don't want to say dumbing down so much as I think their corporate mission statement is to make second screen entertainment. So their big plan is to make programs that you can watch on TV while still browsing on your phone. So we're making films and programs which can be watched with one eye on Instagram, which means that the characters will, very quickly repeat the plot points and give you a quick refresher of what you have just missed.
Yeah.
And everything will play out twice, so that you don't need to pay too much attention. You can still follow the story. And I don't think that's the world that I want to live in. It really kind of strikes fear into my heart, I think, really. Once you start making programs for people who aren't paying attention, then you are inviting people to stop paying attention.
Yeah.
And things which are stupid will just become stupider. Things which are crass will simply become crasser. There was always a joke that for commercial television, the programs are basically just the things that go in between the ads.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas now, if you have a streaming service where there are no ads, then the programs are just the things that go in between what? I mean, they go in between eating and going to the toilet? I mean, I don't understand what are we making art for anymore? It just feels to me that it's entirely the opposite of what we started out with. It reminds me a little bit of when people talk about Google AI overviews. I don't know whether you ever look at those when they come up on the screen. I search for something on the internet, and Google will give me some links, but first of all, it will give me an AI overview, so I don't need to scroll down to the link, which means that Google is basically killing its own search business in pursuit of us, using their AI more. Yeah. And this feels a little bit like Netflix, just like you said, Netflix killing the cinema business in order to, and I'm not sure what the end of the sentence is, in order to continue taking $14 out of my account every month, but I'm not entirely sure what it is that they are proposing I will get for my $14. And why is it that I want to pay my money for that?
Yeah. Well, it's just so much worshiping at the dollar as opposed to having any other mission statement. Like, they're not interested in producing better content. They do want the television production side, I think, of Warner Brothers, so that they would be able to produce more of what they see as the future as well. So I guess there's this idea that a 2-hour standalone film is much less attractive and profitable than at least a limited series that stretches out over 10 hours or something like that. Now, I think by nature, if you can't say it in 2 hours, I don't want to hear you struggling and trying to say it over 10 hours. So for me, that's just pure volume. It's basically the story of everything right now is just create more crap and people will buy more crap, as opposed to create some really good stuff and get people thinking about maybe not even buying the crap in the first place. So I think that's it. We're going to have fewer choices in all likelihood. The kinds of things that will survive are the big blockbuster generic kind of films, the intellectual property that someone already owns and is just spinning out into more and more sequels and variations of it. And it's going to be a lot harder to make, I think, like compelling films that actually have people thinking as opposed to just consuming them. So, I mean, you can't, if you're really competing with TikTok and Meta and that your viewers are looking at those things at the same time, you can't make a thoughtful film. It has to be something that is just redundant and very familiar and generic. It's just the way of the world.
It'll be the movie equivalent of elevator music, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine that we are barricaded in the cinema now, and frankly, I feel sort of like we are, but God knows there's no one else in here with us. Barricaded in the cinema, and the Visigoths are at the gate because Netflix is hoping to dismantle the entire industry, but. Not only have we got this problem to sort out, but the barbarians have also turned up at the same time because we have AI trying to batter down the other gate with this sort of race to the bottom march of creating content with as little input as possible. That the notion of producing film or television is going to just turn into a process of prompting while the AI will juggle up all the influences that it's absorbed and spit out something which is slickly entertaining and entirely content free.
Yeah.
I feel like this feels like the absolute worst time for cinema to be under siege, because it's attacks from all sides now, isn't it? Oh God, I'm getting depressed now. This is bad. Pass more popcorn.
Yes, let's see if we can. I'm going to try and look for a nugget of gold in the. Is it the silver lining, or it's in the weeds? Yes. I guess. I'm going to refer quickly to another interview that just had a quick moment in it. It was also New York Times. It was they have this program called The Interview, and they're interviewing Kristen Stewart.
Okay, right. Okay, she's an interesting woman. Actually.
She's an interesting person, and she is making. I guess she just directed her first film, and she was complaining about the costs of filmmaking, and I think part of the problem is, I think budgets are too big. I think people are putting way too much money into them. I just think it makes these big, bloated, absolutely hit or absolutely fail films, as opposed to making lots of littler films that are good. One of her angles was, and I'm lukewarm on this because I consider myself a union man. Actually, I'm in a union. So, but good, she was saying, when if you get to be a big enough film, you have to start hiring. It should be a union production. You have to pay a lot more money to get the workers on the film. And she was sort of bemoaning that in the sense that, well, if you make a smaller film, you don't need to have all union workers on the film. So I don't want to throw the unions under the bus, but I think it is expensive to make films. And I think to a certain extent, the film industry has brought it upon itself in terms of just going so expensive. I don't think you need to spend all this money on films. Yeah. And then, as you've said, you probably have to do a third of your budget again just on marketing. So this money is just getting wasted here and there. And there's some great actors, but do you really need $10 million to work on that film for a month? Do you really need $20 million to work on that film for a month and a half because you're a superstar? I just think there's so much waste. So it's much more, I think it could be another opening for more interesting stuff to get made on much smaller budgets. And, I think the technology is there. You could make anything look good these days. So I think there is a little kernel of gold in the weeds there. Because I think the industry probably does need some reform. And, they're going to probably have the same number of hits and misses whether or not they're making, $100 million, $200 million films as if they're making a bunch of like $5 and $10 and $20 million films. So I just think that the record is going to be about the same. And they were saying, and I think what Netflix was saying, or Paramount, one of the two offers was sort of guaranteeing, in quotation marks, that they'd have 30 new releases a year to theaters, and that's not a lot of films. It's it's one every couple of weeks, 2 a month or something, 2.5 a month or something. But that's not a ton of films. So I think, I'm hoping that what ends up coming out, the reaction should be a lot more smaller stuff, and then. This is how United Artists started, right? I think, who was it? Was it Olivier and some of these? Jimmy Stewart was involved too. I think a lot of these. There were some actors who didn't feel like they were getting a good shake in the old days of the studio monopolies, right? So they formed United Artists so that they would have their own sort of production company, but also more importantly their own distributor to get films out in the theaters, and they could get a cut of that more directly. So that's why it's called UA, United Artists. So you could see things like that happening, I think, where you just have to deliver the films differently. I mean, in this day and age, you're not carting reels and reels of films in tin cans across the world. You are just paying someone 50 cents every time you show it, or $1, whatever it is. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of money, but the actual costs of doing that are super cheap. So I could see a lot of little alternative cinemas just figuring out a way to turn like a previously released property, or even renting properties from Netflix to show in theaters. So I think that experience is always going to be desirable, and like so many things in culture, I think it'll come back around. But it's just a shame to me that people would rather sit on their couches and be on their phones as opposed to going out and like hearing how an audience reacts to a film. The first impressions you get are very often informed by how much did I laugh, how much did I cry, what was the vibe in the theater at the time. Did I go next door to a restaurant and buy something, or go out and have a drink and talk to someone about a film afterwards? I mean, those experiences we need, and this is when we're running right into our computers and writing into our own houses and just never moving, never doing anything. So I think it's going to contribute to humanity just getting more and more boring and just more and more consumer driven. God, I started out with a nugget of gold there, but then I went dark.
Yeah. I think we lost the gold in the gutter there. Last week I was saying that one of my favourite themes in cinema is just better together.
Yeah,
and that's absolutely what the cinema experience is, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's this notion of experiencing something with other people.
Yeah.
This communality of experience. There's something else which you talked about a few weeks ago, which is about like small scale local community cinema.
Yeah.
Like making films which are local and small scale but relevant to a small community.
Yeah.
In a way, we are in a golden age of cinematic technology because as you've just kind of said, well, you can spend $800 on a laptop, which is good enough to edit a film on.
Yeah.
And you can spend, I don't know, $600 or $800 or whatever on a digital SLR and a couple of lenses secondhand or whatever, and actually you can make a perfectly reasonable looking movie that way.
Yeah.
We should be in a glorious age of low budget independent cinema with people with unique voices at last having the technology at their disposal to do something truly unique and artistic. And yet, what we're discovering is, for all that we are the small people on the ground making our little films and doing our, typing our little scenes, way overhead, there are two behemoths fighting it out, aren't they? It's like that scene from, is it Godzilla or whatever? Let them fight. It's we are watching Netflix and Warner Brothers and Skydance fighting up in the stratosphere, and just having to jump out of the way when the debris lands on the ground. It's because they control distribution.
Precisely.
If you do have a fantastic, unique, artistic idea for a film, and you do have the technology, to make it, and you are able to find some actors, and you're able to find a cut price Michael Primer to hold a boom, and you can get your film made. Mm-hmm. Distribution now is the big locked door that will stop it going any further. Because once these vertically integrated businesses all amalgamate, then your options for distribution become smaller and smaller. And if you're not making exactly the thing they want, which is second screen entertainment that people don't have to concentrate on, then who's going to show it to anybody? I don't know what will happen. I don't know. A few years ago, the internet looked like it was going to be the technological solution to the democratization of culture and knowledge. And it's ended up kind of doing the opposite and just spreading lies and misinformation, commerce and division. Oh my God.
It's grim, isn't it? But it comes down to distribution. I think you're right about that. And this is an area where a lot of right-wingers would say, deregulation, but this is where they want lots of regulation. They want to be regulated right into monopoly, right? It's pretty hard. I couldn't go to a cinema right now and say, hey, I'm going to give it to you dirt cheap. Here's my film. Could you play it?
Imagine that,
give me $10 every time you play it or whatever it is. And that's not possible. That's absolutely not possible. And especially now, if I get sued, what chances do I have against going against Skydance in a lawsuit? None whatsoever. So one of the points that I took exception to was the inefficiency of the theater-going experience in the filmmaking. They say, look, this is not an efficient way to watch films, to go to the theater and see them in person, to get them to the theater from the production company. And I agree with that. I get that. But there's a lot of stuff that's super inefficient, but we still do it anyway. Like my groceries. A lot of my groceries, everything gets trucked to Monrovia, California for this one distribution center, and then it comes back to me. So it's possible that something has traveled 6,000 miles across the country and back just to get to me. That's efficient. So when they talk about efficiency, they just mean it's bottom line efficiency. Financially it might not be efficient, but we also, it's incredible. We take sewage and we pump it all over the city and then refine it a little bit and then dump it into a lake. That's not efficient. Why don't we work on the inefficiency there too? So I think I feel like that's
sexual reproduction is probably not the most efficient way to create new humans. But were you supposed to stop doing that?
Never. Thank you, James, for bringing a moment of sanity to this podcast.
For dragging it back down to the gutter.
So I think that's. I don't think that's a truly, generous, spirited argument in the whole thing. I think there are lots of things that we do that are inefficient, but again, they provide some other value. It's like if it's bringing people together, if it's having more experiences, more options for people. A lot of people do. I don't want to watch a film on my phone. I can't stand watching films on my computer.
So I can just imagine the Pope telling Michelangelo that he wants him to paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling, but he wants him to mostly concentrate on efficiency.
Yeah.
So like, here's 6 pots of grey paint, get at it.
And I think, ultimately that's what it comes down to me too, is that, what we've got are a bunch of rich people who don't care how things are done. They just want to make sure that they're making as much money as possible for themselves.
Yep.
And I think that's the real crime here, is that monopolies like this should not exist in the first place. There really should be some limit to how many businesses you can buy up and how much you can control an industry. We usually have antitrust laws here and a department in the government that will go after these and split up big companies. But that's happening less and less now. And as a result, we're just seeing fewer and fewer wealthier and wealthier people. What can you come on, give us something bright and luminous and happy. Say something joyful.
I think the popcorn that you get at the movie theater is of better quality than the popcorn you can eat at home.
Always. I am at home. I am dumping more and more butter and salt on, and it's still nowhere near as good as what we get at the theater.
I think it's when they sell it for home use, they have to explain what the ingredients are, and they have to meet some sort of standards. Whereas you buy it at the movie theater, they can put anything in. No one's watching. That's why it tastes so good.
Yeah, that's my kind of deregulation right there. If it tastes good, put it in my popcorn, please.
I'm going to say the same thing I said a couple of weeks ago, which is I think to fight Netflix, cinema needs to play Netflix's game and get people to subscribe. And have a subscription to your local movie theater. When you turn up, it's free to attend.
Yeah,
but you pay them $14 a month or whatever.
I love that.
Netflix has made a lot of money out of that model. Why can't the Odeon do the same thing? That's my suggestion.
Brilliant. I love it. That's good. And that's better than that. You had that silly Canadian thing where you can go see some surprise movie on a Monday night or whatever. No,
that too. Yeah.
Maybe. But I like the subscription. The subscription to your local theater. Brilliant.
Yeah, support your local theatre. In the meantime, Happy New Year to all your listeners. I hope our cheerful conversation is helping you to look forward to a prosperous and joyful artistic 2026.
Oh, joy to the world. Happy New Year, everybody. There's not even any popcorn in this place. There's no movie, there's no popcorn. This is
movies, no popcorn.
Netflix, is this what you want our lives to be? No movie, no popcorn in a theater? No thanks.
You don't have to pay attention.
Hey, what are you watching?
Yeah, it's only 5 seconds long this week.